So, like I said, this is my noise. Similar to what you heard with the axles. I'm thinking that things just aren't riding on the right race. Probably gonna have to take this all apart to see what's what. The closer I look at the Sandcraft carrier bearing, the more it looks like it's probably okay. So what I'm going to try to do is move the front diff, and you see that the yoke is splined going into the rear, and you can see the splines are sticking way up there towards the U-joint on the driveline. Hopefully you can see that. There, now you can see it. So with the driveline pushed back so far, I think it's falling out of the correct position on the carrier bearing. So I'm going to try to slide the driveline forward first, but then the key thing is what keeps it up there. I'm assuming there might be a circlip or something that holds it on there. You know, I'm going to try this one time by myself here. Look at there. It started. Now I'll see if I can jam it in there. Well,
it didn't go for it.
Didn't go for it any? Okay, but I think that we know that that's supposed to be up towards the front. So probably need to pull it apart, and it's probably a circlip I got to get in there. I'm gonna get this all pulled out, and once it's pulled out, I'll give you a much better picture of what's going on. So a little update is, you can see from the previous pictures, the dry line was pulled out the back. So what I did was I used a long pry bar at the back to push it forward, and I actually had a tap on the carrier bearing housing backwards a little bit in order to get it to seat. So you can see the circlip is just dangling there, and that's what allowed the circlip not being installed in the groove. That's what allowed the driveline to go backwards. The driveline's back in position, but I don't see how I'm going to get that circlip on way down in there. So the only way I see I can really get that circlip on and be confident that it's in the right spot is if I pull the whole driveline and install the carrier bearing outside of the car. So that'll be next. So I decided, like we talked about earlier, go ahead and pull the driveline out. It's a little bit of a hassle, not too awfully bad. You can see that I split the driveline in two pieces. The carrier bearing mounts in those two large holes right there. So to get the driveline out, if you haven't done it before, everything's got to go forward before it can go back. So the driveline was on the diff. You see it sticking up through the front right there. So that's where it was hooked to the diff. There is a single bolt that holds it on that groove in the splines. For easy access to the other bolt of the carrier bearing, I went ahead and I took this seat out. Wasn't real necessary to do that, but I did it anyway, and get this access panel off, and then there's easy access to that bolt right there, and you can get the bolt out for the carrier bearing. So the reason why the carrier bearing's got to come out is because this has to slide forward, and it can't go any farther forward without the carrier bearing actually going forward. So once the carrier bearing went forward, I was able to pull it off the splines off the transmission, and then pull it aside here where I can work on it. I decided to work on it here at the floorboard instead of on the workbench, because what I'm trying to do is get this circlip that fell off of these splines, get it back on, but that has to be done with the carrier bearing on there, and trying to snake the carrier bearing out of the back of the car and so on, I don't think it's going to be possible. So I'm just going to try to get this circlip back on right here and try to make sure it's on there securely. We'll see how comfortable I feel with it. I may get a new circlip or snap ring. I keep calling it a circlip. It is a snap ring, and then it just goes back together pretty easy. I got to get this carrier bearing all the way on. It has to be all the way seated so that I can get to this groove back here and get the snap ring on it. Okay, nice tight fit. Carrier bearing looks to be on all the way. Let's see if I can get this in there. You know what? That's not feel super tight. Oh, that's a good solid sound. Little snap. Now it's locked. But I don't know how confident I feel about that. I'll pull it back off, and I don't know if I can put a little bend in it or not. Okay, I know a lot of you are going to say that's a big no-no, but we're just going to see how confident I feel about this. Oh yeah, that's nice and tight. Maybe too tight. Do as I say, not as I do, right? Okay. So, as I rebuilt the C-clip, it's much tighter. Now, it's so tight, it's difficult to get it on the tool. If you can see that, it's firmly on the tool. I never claimed to be an ASC certified mechanic. Sound like a pretty good snap. Let's see if it ran all the way. Oh, another little snap. That sounded good. Okay, that I feel more confident about. So it won't slide off. So now I just have to pull this back up, line up with the shaft, the splines on the transmission, slide on the transmission, put this over in the tunnel, and put that back together. I'll see if I can't get some footage for you while I do that. Okay, so we're gonna try to get this back together. Donna's gonna come hold this side while I guide the other side. I think I need this up here. Gotta get underneath that. Oh, don't let that happen. There we go. Okay, if you can kind of guide that around as I fish the back end. All right. So we got that back in the general area. Now we want to get the front drive line on. All right, hopefully you guys can see there. There we go. All right. So, drive line's put back together. It's not bolted down, obviously. The next step is putting it on the front diff before we bolt this down. There we go. Okay, so this bolt hole here has got to line up with this groove. So when it goes in, make sure it goes far enough. There, that looks about it. Let's see. Let's see a bolt come up the other side. There it is.
Yep.
All right, now we'll just put the nut over here, and then we'll go back and we'll bolt down the carrier bearing. So, drive line is stabbed. It's connected to the front diff, like we showed you. Carrier bearing's where it needs to be. It's on the rear transmission splines. So now all we're going to do is we're going to take these 2 holes here. We're going to put this in, and we're going to go through that access panel on the other side for the passenger side. Now, the bolt head going down from the top, we're going to get from the passenger side. The nut on the bottom, we're going to get from the driver's side. Okay, so it's all bolted down, and no more rattle there. Nice and tight. This car's got over 3,000 miles on it. That's pretty good overall. We're on the rear splines. If you can see that, hopefully you can. Sorry, there's no light right now. So I did get smart halfway through. I put rubber gloves on. 1 casualty. There's my helper. And all I'm gonna do now is put the panels back on the center console on both sides, put the seats back in, and this project is done. Like I said, we'll get the seats in. The lift is working out good. That's another video. And my helper is, as usual, dressed to impress. She's got her BAM socks on. What is that? Is that, I don't think it's Batman. It just looks like superhero socks.
Just okay.
Yeah. Doesn't match her outfit, but I think that's the intent.
I have